Good. All right, welcome everybody. It is Tuesday, July 26, 2022, 7 o'clock. We are, all of us but Betsy, who is on vacation at the Lee Middle and High School Library. And the general public is zooming in. Virtual meeting room per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 20. This meeting will take place virtually via Zoom. I'm going to call the order pursuant to Mass General Law C-30A, Section 20. I'm hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting. Do you have anybody coming to do the Pledge of Allegiance? No. All right, then I'm going to ask everybody to stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The mission statement of Lee Public Schools is to ensure students have the opportunities to develop the social, civil, and critical thinking skills to thrive in an ever-changing world. Brenda, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin?
Present.
Mr. Kinnis?
Here.
Mrs. Kashura?
Here.
Ms. Larman?
Here.
Mr. Nichols?
Here.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Here.
All right, I'd like to welcome Chris Britton as our guest. And our first item on our agenda is the approval of our June 21st, 2022 Lee School Committee meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 21st, 2022 Lee School Committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? Brenda, could you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin?
Abstain.
Mr. Kinnis?
Yes.
Mrs. Kashura?
Yes.
Ms. Larman?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
All right, next up on our agenda is public input with Kirk Nichols.
Members of the public are invited to address the committee at this time. Issues raised will normally be referred to the administration or a subcommittee of the school committee.
Because we have none. All right. Next up on our agenda is reports. I go first as chairperson, and I am going to ask our MASC president if we have an update from the MASC.
We
So
do.
Ms. Wadsworth, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Chair Larman. MASC is going to San Antonio next week to represent Massachusetts and the national boards for a leadership conference. And so we will be there doing that. And I would ask this board if we could move up an agenda item under new business, if that's okay.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the items that, as president of MASC, I'm allowed to give a scholarship to one of our students, and I apologize for doing this late. I would have liked to have done it at graduation, but I wasn't aware I got to do this, so I'm honored. And so the scholarship is the Roberta Doring Scholarship, and Roberta Doring was this state's longest consecutive serving school committee member. She was first elected in 1970. She is a past president of MASC and NSBA, so she served as the president of the national board.
Oh,
So that's pretty cool.
yeah.
And so this student that was chosen is here with us. Hi, Emily. How are you? Thank you for coming. Emily and I do not know each other. Like this or anything. So I asked Principal Bergenti for a recommendation for a student, some particular things that I was looking for. Believe it or not, when I was in high school, I was kind of a quiet student. It's hard to believe now, but
I'm gonna make no
I
comment.
was. I was. So I always look for people who have that, and I look for I always say to people, you can shine in high school and then you also can shine later in life. And so it's good to, do that in all levels of time. So Emily is the daughter of Carolyn Hiley and Oliver Reska of Lee. And during her time at Lee Middle and High School, she took many honors and advanced courses, including AP Computer Science during her senior year. And she is enrolled in Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. Very cool.
That's for my stepson. Then. It's awesome. You're gonna love it.
Yes. And her major is animation. So very
That is
fascinating.
amazing.
Yes. So we have for you some flowers. So from MASC, which is the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. So right now I represent every school committee across Massachusetts, and that's about 388. And we have $1,000 for you as a scholarship. And you can do as you please with it. Put it towards your books, put it towards your tuition. Here's a mug for you. You can keep and read and.
Andrea, can we get a picture?
Sure. Sure. My picture. Mom, do you want to be in the picture? Awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Can't wait to see everything you do.
I agree. And we wish you the very best of luck at school this year. And I think you're gonna love Champlain. It's a great little town. And I don't know if you're an ice cream person, but Ben and Jerry's is like right there. I'm just saying. Every time we went to visit Dan, that was one of our stops. Enjoy your time. Thank you so much for coming. You're welcome to stay and hang out, but it's not very exciting. You're free to.
And I'm sorry we didn't do this at graduation. I apologize for that.
Well, no.
That's
problem.
Better late than never. That
Exactly.
$1,000 is worth more now.
It's more special now because she gets more like all eyes on her, unless that's not what you want for her.
And we'll do a little bio in our newsletter. So if you want to add to what I read. Thank you so
Congratulations
much.
again.
Congratulations.
Moving along, thank you for that, Andrea.
Oh, yeah.
Moving along, we have next our superintendent's update.
One moment. Got some people joining us, it looks like. All right. All right, thank you, Mrs. Larman, for this. Quick update tonight. It's the middle of July, and there's not a ton to report here. I know we've got some important business to take care of, but I know I shared this list with you back in June, but we updated one more name, Matthew Albert, as an LMHS para. We still have some openings across the district that we're seeking to fill. And so keep an eye on School Spring, check out our job posting board and the website to look for those openings in case you know somebody who is qualified and interested in coming to work for what I would consider one of the best districts possible. And so we've got a great team that we're putting together this summer, and we're looking to add a few more faces to our faculty before August 24th, which is the new teacher orientation day. So we've got about a month to fill some positions. So if you know anybody who's interested, encourage them to take a look, give my office a call, Mr. Bergenti's office a call, or Mr. Mertenick's office. We'll get them set up for interviews as appropriate. Comfort dog updates. Ollie, Macy, and Millie are with their primary handlers. The primary handlers are doing trainings over the summer with Berkshire Dogs Unleashed. And next week, the policy subcommittee will be meeting to update our animals in school policy so that come day one of school, the policy will be in place, and the students and staff will be able to welcome Ollie, Macy, and Millie into our schools to work with our students and staff to keep them comforted as appropriate. There's just a couple of pictures of them. I had an opportunity to see two of them yesterday, and boy, they're cute and fun and already very well behaved. Already indeed comforting, but already very well behaved. So
Do we have two black ones or a black?
we
and
do
white?
have two black dogs. So Ollie and Millie are on the left and Macy's on the right.
I was gonna say that white one, we could dye orange.
It sounds like a senior prank thing that might happen. Capital projects updates. So the capital projects, some of the work from FY22 was just recently completed. So the concrete work was done. Gymnasium work is underway. I've got some pictures in an upcoming slide here. So the bleachers have been ordered. The flooring in the gym will be taken care of in the next couple of weeks, and the LES playground equipment is also ordered. And of course, the scoreboard was installed back in June, and wouldn't you know it, the one day that it was installed is the day it rained, like the one day this summer that it's actually rained. But it is installed and looks great. Let me get to those. So here's the concrete around the flagpole. We took some of the memorial plaques that had been assigned to some trees earlier, and we had them installed around the flagpole so that they wouldn't be lost. You'll notice the walkway from the parking lot to the front of LMHS has also been refinished and widened a little bit, so to make it easier for snow clearing in the winter. And of course, the handicap ramping with the yellow nubbing has been installed as to make sure we're code compliant. And that's what the gym is looking like right now. Pretty remarkable. The paint was really something. It was sprayed on, and the method that was used is that if it didn't make contact with the walls or the ceiling, when it fell to the ground after about 6 feet, it became dust. And so there was no damages, simply normal cleanup on the floor. Pretty remarkable technology.
Yeah.
But when this project is completed, it's going to be a really remarkable gym, and we're going to be very proud of the work. So thank you to the school committee in the town for supporting that improvement. I'm going to go back here. Quick math update. Initial training took place in June, and there is ongoing training through the summer. There's some waggle training that's going to be happening, I think in next week or the week after next. And I'm sure that either Mr. Bergenti or Mr. Mertnick will talk some more about that, but teachers do have 15 hours of time to work on pacing guides to get them ready for SY 22-23. As will become evident when we get to the accounts payable warrants, materials and resources have been ordered to the tune of about $85,000. And those are expected to be here mostly in time for the beginning of the school year. Opening of school plans, huge thank you to our custodial team for doing some pretty remarkable work. They really stepped it up this summer and have made sure that they're mildly ahead of schedule. So that's great news. And our staff are balancing summer vacation plans with preparation for the new year. And there's lots that's going to happen in the next few weeks between now and again, August 24th, when new teachers begin, and August 25th, when convocation will take place. It's going to be a really exciting event. It's been a couple of years since we've been able to have a real convocation event, and this year is going to be something special, and I really look forward to it. Again, those photos that I shared with you before. Quick message of happy retirement, Kathy Ragusa Halleck, who spent the last 21 years working for the Lee Public Schools. Her last day was last Thursday, the 21st, and she's got a lot of things going on in her life right now that are really exciting. But we wish her the absolute best and thank her for her years of service.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Any questions for Mike?
Just happy retirement to Kathy.
Yeah.
It'll be weird to not see her face when we come through.
Yeah. She's not sad about it though.
I bet she is.
I bet.
All right, next up on our agenda is principal and director reports. And first up is Tim Mertnook with Lee Elementary School.
All right. As Superintendent Richard said, our summer programming at LES concluded for the majority of those that participated on July 21st at LES. We had about 60 students participate this summer, including those in our Jumpstart to Kindergarten program, which is designed for our incoming kindergartners, as well as for those students who were in K through 6 during the last school year. Our comfort dog Millie made a showing during the last week and was very well received by students and staff. In fact, I think all learning stopped and it took several minutes to get things going again. Very well received on that end. We also coordinated with the LYA again to provide grant-funded sponsorship to their program, which extended the day for about 20 of our summer programming students. We're currently hard at work preparing for the August 29 start date when students return. We'll be sending a mailing to families at the end of next week, which will include some important information for the upcoming start of the school year. We'll also be emailing information to families in the coming weeks as we get closer to the start of school. This information will also be posted to the LES website. And work on the LES playground is slated to start in September, October, and will include the replacement of several play structure components in need of replacement. And that will be the first phase of what we hope to do throughout the school year to really refurbish that playground. That's what I've got for you.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Does anybody else have any questions for Tim? All right, thanks so much, Tim. All right, next up, we have Lee Manola High School with Greg Bergenti.
So the, just as Tim's summer school ended last week, our summer school at LMHS ended last week as well. We were able to provide service for 31 students, taking a total of 48 courses for credit recovery purposes. As a result of that, we're going to start the new school year with only 5 students who are just a little bit behind in credits from where they should be. So they, everybody's going to start out pretty much where they need to be at the start of the school year. Just as in Tim's school, next week we'll be mailing home the summer newsletter to parents and families. I guess it's the back to school newsletter, as soon as possible. A lot of important information will be in there, and that will include students' preliminary schedule. And there will be opportunities. There will be office hours for the guidance counselors on the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that week when we begin. So that's the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th before school actually starts and before teachers return. So if there are issues with your schedules, you can get those fixed on those opening days. There will also be included in there, hopefully, the free and reduced lunch schedule application. And I just want to make a important push here for families to complete that, even though recent news is that the state will likely be covering the cost of lunches this year, where the federal government doesn't, so that every student will have the opportunity for free lunch again. It's important to still fill out that federal application because we get a lot of benefits through that process in other areas. So that'll be included in that letter. Fall sports will begin in just a couple of weeks. Football on Friday, August 17th, and all others on Monday, August 22nd. And the required family information night for fall sports will be on Monday, August 22nd here in the auditorium. I guess it'll follow me, just talk a little bit about the math program. We're very excited. We are starting a new math program this year from kindergarten through Algebra 2. That is a huge undertaking that hasn't happened in a long, long time. And this program will be unified K through Algebra 2, which is also very unusual. So the same vocabulary will be used year after year. The same type of program will be used year after year, whereas for the last several years, the elementary program was one, the middle and high school program was a little bit different. This will be uniform throughout. And we were able to fund this through one of the ESSER grants that we got from the federal government through the COVID pandemic funds. So we have a lot of teachers doing a lot of training and planning in the month of August to be ready to implement this new math program. I think we're all really looking forward to it. It'll, obviously take a couple of years for the benefits to fully work their way through as younger students work their way through each grade and go up. But we're really looking forward to it, and it's an exciting time. So it's called Into Math at the K through 8 level and into algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 at the high grade school level. So that's all I have.
Does anybody have any questions for Greg? Go ahead.
So it'll align curriculum, basically, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we will have a single aligned math program, K through algebra 2.
And how does it fit within the lines within the state metrics? No?
This was one of the few programs that the state was encouraging people to. They have a new system called Curate where they put forward and they assess their different programs in math and ELA as to their alignment to the state standards and frameworks. And this was one of the ones that was highly recommended. As a matter of fact, we got an additional $50,000 grant from the state, roughly, mostly for PD stuff, because we decided to go with the HMH program.
Nice. Is anyone around us, any of our neighbors doing it?
It's a fairly new program. There are many places looking at it. I know it's just adopted by several districts down in the Boston area.
We're an early adopter in the
yeah,
Berkshires.
We are.
That's awesome. Very good, Lehigh and Lee Public Schools. That's
Any
awesome.
other questions for Greg? Oh, thanks, Greg. All right, next up, we have special education with Jen Norton.
Hi, how is everyone tonight? I unfortunately was not able to go to our, I know Andrea Larman was there last week, our, the special ed directors conference. I was sick the week prior and I had quite a few things that I could not miss, so I wasn't able to go. So I'll have to catch up with Andrea and get all the details. We are finishing our summer programming this week for special education. Excuse me for not having my camera on. I apologize. I am surrounded by boxes as I am preparing to move. So, we have three programs that are still occurring this week, two at the middle and high school and one at the elementary school. And most of our programming ended last week, but our final programs will end this Thursday. We have hired several new people as well, but we are still looking for several positions. So I know Superintendent Richard has already spoken of that, but we are definitely looking for some special education staff as well as speech and language pathologists. So if you know anyone out there, please spread the word. We were very lucky that we were able to get some summer nursing due to the support of one of our school committee members. So thank you very much. That worked out extremely well. And we had 2 people work with us this summer and they were wonderful. We are waiting on the grants for special education. They should be coming out any day. Traditionally, they come out the last week of July. Sometimes it's as late as August 15th, but we are certainly hoping that does not happen this year so we can get prepped for the school year to come. And I'm meeting with Principal Mertenook because we are looking at kind of creating a flow chart for our SIT process, which is the process for students that may need any level of intervention, whether it's just some response to intervention or if they need special education, kind of have a flow chart to get to that process. And that's something we're in the process of doing this week. Again, if there's any question of anyone who is just registering or coming to Lee and there is either an IEP in place or if there's questions about special education, they can reach out directly to my office. That's all I have tonight. And unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Jen? All right, thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
And last but not least, Jordan Meyer with facilities.
Good evening, everyone. I do not have too much to offer, being that my colleagues have kind of touched base on a few of those notes. But in general, the grounds, the athletic fields continue to receive treatments. We're going to be making a big push for curb appeal before school starts, as you can see in conjunction with a lot of the projects. There's ancillary work that needs to be done, grass, trees, things of that nature. The facility grounds as a whole are very well maintained. There are some areas of need, but for athletic purposes, the team here really does a great job. They stay on top of the mowing. They're really good at layouts, and the look of the school overall, I think, is starting to morph. It takes time, but the school district as a whole is I think starting to look slick. It's getting there. On the interior, like the superintendent said, the custodians are pushing hard. They're doing well. They're staying on track. We haven't had too many hiccups with machines or equipment or material supplies, things of that nature. We're squared up for the rest of the year to get through the summer push, so to speak. Maintenance program preventive maintenance programs, all our HVAC systems are old, they're aging, they're still maintained, their filters are still swapped out and such. The systems that govern that are a different animal altogether, but for now, we're getting by. Working with SPED on a few items regarding appliances for their areas. Director Jen Norton has some monies for some replacement pieces. In regards to fleet operations, our old truck did have to go into the shop again. It was not too terribly expensive, but we did have to put some money into it to keep it, alive for this season. On that note, I've been working with Ford. We have a line on a F-350 and an F-550 that won't be due here until March of 23. As it kind of stands right now, from what I can take and speaking to these folks, is it's almost like a gentleman's agreement. It's they'll earmark a car for us, a vehicle for us. When it gets here, we either pony up and get it or we don't. So with that being said, it's the F-550 would be around $100,000 vehicle. The F-350 would be around an $80,000 vehicle. The van is safe. The van is operational. The van still needs logo work done. We haven't lost sight of that. We just pulled it to save monies to utilize it. And during the downtime in the beginning of August, it's going back into the shop to have that done. We do have a custodial position open and a candidate who will be offered the position in the coming weeks. And we have our eye on the August 18th meeting to have that area ready. Other than that, this is your turn.
Any questions for Jordan?
Ask about the truck.
Yeah.
The old truck, it is 350 to 550. What do you do? Is that a truck? Like what?
Yes, a 350.
I know it's a truck with that's just like a truck cab truck.
It's the chassis,
Okay.
and going from a 350 to a 550.
It's huge.
Really,
What
it's
are
not
you
huge, it's
pulling?
the same size truck,
Yeah.
it's the weight that goes in, which would be the salt.
Oh, you're
shredder,
carrying the
plow
sand or
blade,
salt
blade,
thing.
yeah.
Is that the
So
one
that's
that
the way-
people used to say there was a, help me, Greg, that there was a hole in the floor?
That was your other truck, that one's been
We got rid of that one.
Dismissed.
swapped, dismissed. This is-
That one's been retired.
Yeah.
Where
this
are
Been
we
one-
put out to pasture.
Where are we getting this money?
Well, this would be, originally, this was one of our planned capital expenses for FY '23.
Yeah.
But when we learned that it was going to be 9 months to a year out, we said that's foolish to set aside this money. So to Jordan's point, and I talked about this with Jordan earlier, is if March is the target, it's going to be a challenge for us because our plan would be to ask for this to be a capital investment for FY '24. Hopefully that vehicle is available, ready for a July 1 acceptance instead of a March acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which might possibly be doable, because even after we receive the chassis and whatnot, it still needs to go into the shops to have the hydraulics over the electrics installed, the dump bodies, there's still more
Yeah.
work to be done.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be lucky.
Sorry, Chris, you had to be at this meeting.
Yeah.
Chris is like, oh my God.
I'm familiar with the truck issue.
Yeah.
All over.
You should have been here the year they tried to give us an $8,000 truck for the $80,000. Okay, wow, yeah.
Any other questions?
So no one's talked about decarbonization and putting our vehicles to electric, and is anyone paying attention to that as a state mandate?
Yes and no.
Okay, because that's coming down, right? Everyone's aware that that's coming down to municipalities.
Yeah, but my understanding that if you can't have an F-550 that's an electric vehicle.
No,
So-
of course not, yeah.
But there's exemptions to that mandate, so. That's my understanding.
Yes, but you gotta prove that you could do the work without believe me, I know. Yeah, okay.
I don't, but I'll look
I
into
guess-
it.
okay.
I'm not gonna please it. So
No,
I'll-
it's all these things popping up. Everyone's got money for their new initiatives and all of a sudden things are coming forward, but it won't hit us for a while.
Okay.
We probably should have it like in our back.
Yeah.
Listening to it. It's probably gonna hit Chris before it hits.
Yeah, no, we looked at is, yeah, it is, I believe you're
Yeah.
correct in
Yeah.
that something of that, anything that's used for snow plowing and that sort of
Right.
thing is exempt as of now, so.
Any other questions for Jordan? All right, thank you, Jordan. All right, next on our agenda is committee reports, and first up is our finance committee.
All right, so earlier this evening, the finance subcommittee met and we went over 2 warrants. The first one is the accounts payable. The details on the right-hand side, and then most of the detail is really some of the capital projects that are going on, as well as some curriculum and some learning software and stuff that we need to do.
If you want me to go through
Yeah,
this,
you can
so,
go
yeah,
through
that's
each one
fine. So,
if you want.
HM receivables are those math materials that I spoke about, and Principal Bergenti mentioned. Complete concrete showing a couple of times here is the concrete work that was done as part of the FY22 capital. Lenox Public Schools, that payment was part of Lori Goodfellow's retirement and exit from the Lenox and Lee Public Schools. Due Forest Transportation, Trafera, our Chromebooks Focus Holdings is a program for us for our student management. MASC is our dues. Edmentum is an online learning program. Corbin Seating is the bleachers for the LMHS gym. IXL, again, another online learning, and Hillcrest is a special education bill. So those.
Can't the president of the MASC?
Yeah, wait.
Yeah,
And they even raised it.
Yeah.
They raised it.
What are you gonna do?
Can't we be exempt since you are?
Why did that go
honorable?
up, $5,000?
Bucks, I think.
All right, I will entertain a motion for the accounts payable.
Make a motion to accept accounts payable warrant, the amount of $525,716.99.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Brenda, can you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
And the last warrant was the payroll from June 23rd down to July 21st. The total amount of $197,796.68. That's really
Go ahead.
par for the course.
I will entertain a motion for the payroll.
I make a motion to accept the payroll as presented.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Abstain.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
we have one more item too that we needed to talk about, the FY22 budget transfers. And you have a document in front of you with all the transfers. Mike, if you want to add anything to that?
I'll put this up on the screen so that people can share. So annually, as we try to reconcile the budget and make sure that we are balanced and all the lines have been properly satisfied, sometimes there's a need to move money between and amongst lines and DACs. So what I've done for you is I've consolidated the DAC transfers so that if anything is moving from either the school committee or superintendent's DAC to another, or from technology, from principals to technology or whatever, they're all listed here the way we've moved. I've outlined those so that all of those DACs will be balanced with the remainder being covered by the school choice appropriation that was approved by the school committee last year. So those, I noted one school choice line because I didn't want you to wonder where this $141.45 was coming from. But in the other lines, you'll see that. So for instance, there's a regular ed deficit of $501,000 and change that will be covered by school choice. That's salary driven.
Yeah.
And this will balance our budget.
Thank you.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the FY 2022 budget transfers.
A motion to accept the FY22 budget transfers as presented.
Second.
That's Aaron.
That's so quick.
Aaron.
I got it next, like that.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All right, Brenda, can you do a roll call?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Kushura?
Yes.
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Yes.
When we're done with this, can we go back to Jordan for a second? I forgot a question.
Yes. Jordan, Andrew has a question.
How's the grass on the football field?
It's good.
Does it need to be sodded again?
Which specific are you, what grass are you referring to? The center line that was replaced not too long ago, or the outskirts? We
The
have
big
one,
section that we're trying to grow and keep intact.
there's one section of the field that is kind of at the base of, the highest peak of the ramp that leads up there. So water is running off down there. We had LB come out, they did inspect the area, they offered us a quote to repair. It's their busy season, trying to get them in here. Ultimately, what they discovered is there's some catch basins and piping that can be tied into, basically drop a basin in there to catch that water to, prevent that problem from happening. That has not been done yet. To pad against any kind of concern, we have our people putting down some sod, some grass, or excuse me, some soil, some grass to level it out. Blanky's been aerating the field and rolling it as well. I've walked it. It's just a little bit of a depression. There's no greater or lesser of a trip hazard or an undulation than the rest of the field. It
But the
just
playing
kinda-
field is still staying intact.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's-
What we did a few years ago is still in good shape.
Yes,
Okay, good.
absolutely. Yeah, we have
Good.
our guys out there watering it, it's being fertilized and aerated.
Yeah, I want to make sure our grass is good, right?
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of a turf field,
Uh,
but we put a lot of money in the sod, right?
There's a lot of injuries on turf fields.
A lot more.
A lot more injuries on turf fields.
That's why the natural grass is good,
Yeah.
I hear.
Yeah.
But the sod has to we have to keep up with it, right? So we have to have a maintenance plan for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
Well,
okay.
They were talking about grass. I just want to make sure we budget for a maintenance plan for the grass we already invested in. Right? Because didn't we put like 25,000
A little more than that, yeah.
into the field initially?
We had a healthy summer last year in terms of rain to make sure that everything stayed green. They've been doing a good job of staying on top of us, or the grass rather, this summer with the lack of rain and the heat, but they are on top of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up, we have old business, and we have some contracts. So I'm gonna let the negotiations committee talk about the contract.
So, Mike, so Nicole and Betsy and I were on the negotiation committee, and I think we met many times, and Mike was with us. And Ginger, I see Ginger and Kathy. I don't know Tyler and Jeff there. So lots of conversation, great collaboration. This is a recap sheet that you have, and then you also have the full contract. So we thought this would be like a recap for you,
Perfect.
unless you want to go through the contract and read it together.
No.
No,
No, we're good.
okay,
You
good.
can recap.
Would you like us to discuss these items, or would you like to make a motion to accept the contract as presented, and then we can discuss it from there? Or we can talk about items. It's pretty straightforward. So it's a 3-year contract. We added speech and language pathologists to the unit A. It originally was out of the contract, so we listed that. We did have some time on learning, so it's prescribed by the state how much time we have to spend inside the classroom. We had a deficit, so we could mandate that.
Yep.
But we want to be collaborative, so we worked very hard with the union, and they were very amenable to finding a minute in the schedule, so that worked great. And then as there is a 6th teaching period that we have teachers working very hard to teach for our students, and we felt they need to be compensated. They felt that, we agreed with them. One big item is teachers have 2 floating professional development days. They've had them for years. And so they are willing to negotiate those out of the contract, which is a big move. They'll still have those 2 days, but they will be together in district. I
District
believe,
directed.
is how we're doing that. And so they'll still be professional development given to them.
Perfect.
It'll be rigorous. They'll collaborate on what that looks like. Their big concern is to make sure it was beneficial to them.
Perfect.
And so we want to make sure that happens. So we're tasking that with the superintendent, and he said he would do that.
Great.
Because their message to us was, you know, time not spent well in professional development is time not spent well.
Agreed.
LES parent conference time was added to the contract. An updated sick bank. The sick bank was new the first go around, so they found new processes and vetted that and made some changes. I don't think really substantial that affected bottom line numbers.
So just with the sick bank, so people have a sick bank, can they transfer their bank to another person's bank? Was that a discussion item?
No, it was, so it's only the teachers can put in for their
Right.
bank. And then we originally had the superintendent represented on their committee to decide, like, you need 30 extra days.
Yep.
They wanted to decide that on their own. And so that was agreed to. They now manage it themselves.
Okay.
And they also wanted to keep a balance, which we agreed to that. It was a long discussion. It's unfunded. So some places, we are not one of them, will fund uncompensated absences. So if I have 400 days of sick time, we're not actually saying my $100 a day times 400 is a number, and then we fund that. We have a budget for that. We just hope you don't use it all, right? Because we could never fund that in a municipality.
Right.
So when we say to someone, we're going to carry 80 days of sick time, if they use that, we have to find that money.
Right.
And so it was very hard although people say, well, that's my time, right? You're gonna have to pay me anyways. That is true, but we could never budget for that. And so it's, you gamble on it.
Yeah.
You hope people stay well, and you hope they don't use it as a benefit to take time off, right? Because it's a sick time. It's not an entitlement, it's a benefit for being sick. It happens a lot of places. We don't fund it. And so, but we also heard them loud and clear, they would like to keep that. So what that means is they put a provision in their sick bank that when their sick bank comes to a certain amount, they no longer contribute to it. So by carrying that balance, the contributing to it ceases after a while.
Right.
So, but they also manage their time. There were some concessions on that. And then, but only the teachers can take part in that. Longevity increased by $100. Sick time buyback, we increased it by $5 as a concession to, again, having those floating PD days brought back into the district. And then the contract was, the increases were 2%, 2.5%, 2.5%. Recognizing that 2.5% and 2.5%, 2 years from now, may be attainable, or may have put strains on the district because all this federal money might not be there. You know, we didn't think it would be here 2 years ago, so it's been okay. And maybe, it'll continue on and this influx of funds will still continue. But you don't know. But also things are expensive. Living wages are going up, and
Insurance. goes up.
2.5% is about what, insurances are high.
Yeah.
And so that's what they agreed to. I thought it was very collaborative, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
For sure. That's the one thing I was going to add. You're doing a great job summarizing. I feel like a thank you out there to the teachers and the paraprofessionals that we're getting to, as well as our team, because at times it seemed like it was like countless hours. It was a lot of time, but collaboratively we worked it out, and I think we came to a place that we all feel great about. So
Now, I didn't see a mention of the evaluation tool. Did we not land on that? I thought we landed on that.
For the paraprofessionals.
Under
Okay.
paras, yeah.
Okay.
So we just went over unit A. Do we want to do separate motions for
Yes.
that?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to accept the unit A contract as presented.
Second,
Any discussion? Brenda, can you do a roll call?
yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry. So I do have one question, like at the pay scale, I know you guys scheduled on, landing on the 2.5, 2.5. Did either the subcommittee or the association bring forward the pay scales from other districts that are near us as a reference?
yes, both sides did.
And how do we land as a district when we review those pay scales from other districts in our area?
Better now.
How do we land how do we land?
Like, you want to know up top, in the middle, down low?
Yes,
Do you want me to do it?
Well, I have to
objectively-
tell you, we looked at different scales and they, from each side, right? And some looked a little different. Sometimes some schools were not in this, right?
So-
I mean, it
so
gets a little
here's how
dicey
this-
when you're
yeah,
looking
so
at the data.
It's hard because you're gonna do apples to apples, right?
right.
And so to do that, you have to level the playing field. So we have 12 steps in our salary schedule. And then when you look at the schedule, so if you look at B1 is what we have. So you have to have a master's degree now, within 5 years to when you become a teacher. But we have this interesting thing that we've kept for years, that's BA plus 15 plus 36 plus 45. So we should be getting rid of those, but we don't,
Right.
because there's some, but we don't
Right.
allow that anymore. So why are they there, right? But
Right.
like negotiating that off is tricky.
Right.
It's because, not that they do anything with it, but it's like emotional, right? Fine.
I'm very much aware
Okay.
of union negotiation and
So,
contracts. I
But
get
the
it.
low beginning number is low. We all agree with that. We would love that to be higher. The problem is the bottom number in 12 steps,
Affects the top number.
well, and it is a short distance. So some districts have 18 steps. So if we add some more steps in, most of our teachers are at 65% of them are in those those higher steps.
Right.
So then if we take some steps away, we've now like made it more attractive for new teachers to come in.
Where you pay them less.
We pay more. So let's say we
But it
take,
takes them longer to get.
get
the higher
down
amount of
there,
money.
right?
So they come in at a higher rate,
All right,
but it takes them longer to make more money.
so I'm a starting teacher. And I'm getting hired by Lee.
Yep.
Now, if I took that same job in another district, maybe in South County, maybe North County, how
5 years later, you're gonna make less money than if you stay at Lee.
but
Right, that's the problem. But
Because if
Because
you're,
you're
say
gaining
you're in
more.
Southern Berkshire, you start on step 5. In 5 years, you're gonna be on step 10, but you're gonna be making a smaller percentage more.
because we have
In
shorter
Lee,
steps.
in Lee, you're gonna be on step 10, but because we only have 12 steps, the percentage jumps are higher.
Right,
so are our teachers paid more or less than the teachers that are working in other districts? in
On a
Berkshire
whole,
County?
it ends up
On
being
a, on
the
a,
same.
on a grand
in the
scale.
middle.
Yeah.
they're
They were in
middle.
the middle.
Yeah, they're
On
in
the
the middle.
last chart that we looked at,
Yeah.
I would say in the middle.
So you have to take out Mount Greylock and Lennox, they're outliers, they're
Right,
too high.
I
right?
understand that, yeah.
And then I think Farmington River is really low, I don't want to say that out loud, but I think that it is, right? Like, I don't have them in front of me. And then we're about mid-range, but then you have to level, so then one of the things we looked at, and I've been perfectly upfront, and I've said it in front of me, so I'm not like divulging negotiations. I'd like to level our salary schedule, which means right now we have a salary schedule with steps. So every year you go down a step. And then as you advance your education, you go across the column.
It's a big table, yeah.
Right. But you would think that the percentages are the same as you go down. They're not.
They're not.
So they're not 3, 3, 3, 3. They're 3, 5, 7, 11, 3, 2, 1, all over the board. So you have to almost analyze every step.
Right,
And this in column BA, which again shouldn't be there, the next column may have different percentages. So even though step 2 to 3 is 3%, step 2 to 3 in the next column could be 5.
right,
So what you're doing is you're inflating the middle. So someone in their 3rd or 4th year of teaching is now getting a bigger jump, which you don't see, and you feel like, okay, now I put in 3 years, and I may be the same salary comparison as someone 10 years in another
in another
district.
district, gotcha.
So again, you have to almost like pick out the pieces and then look. So we looked at one time.
Statistically, it doesn't jive. That's the problem.
Yeah, and so we looked one time and saying what Pittsfield did. They leveled their salary schedule. They said every step going down is let's say 3%. Every step going over is 5. And then what you have to do is make sure you have you hold everyone harmless. So you don't want to send anyone back because
Right.
you could analyze that and someone making 75,000. If they were on step 10, master 60, they could be making 72. They'd lose $3,000. No one would go for that.
Right.
So then you have to advance them up 3 steps. Now you're affecting all their records and you have to keep track of that. It happens, but then there's all this, everyone's got to agree to that, a lot of work in that. And we tried that once.
Yep.
And I
Didn't go
think,
well.
and there's a lot of
Can
money.
Try it this year.
And we
too.
tried this year because
was
there's
my
actually a lot of money left on the table when you do that. Because when you level out a salary schedule, one for budgeting, it's so nice, because you're not gonna have these big jumps and your salaries are gonna be even, but your teachers have more money, more opportunities to get more movement.
Right.
And you have to add those steps,
So
so,
if this is approved tonight, then we can't go back to it for another 3 years.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So I just want to I'm just making sure, just for me, because our teachers are compensated financially at a rate that is consistent with teachers that work in,
So here's other things that that are in the contract that you have to add into their salary.
right,
So
there's all the
there's
different stuff.
longevity,
Yep.
there's educational things, there's, what else do they get? There's something else.
All-
Longevity and.
All the benefits aside, though, their
Sick
base,
time
their
benefit.
base salary is
Well, their
competitive.
longevities, they're big.
It's in the middle of the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's a Lexington, but a lot of
Yeah.
places take out longevity, like Berkshire Hills took it out years ago, and they just added it to their pay. So one of the things we said to them is, let's add everything in, divide it by your hours, and give you what you should be making, right? Like, and then that would be the true salary, and you'd be making what is true market value.
Right, right,
And then we can talk about how that looks.
right. Our pay scale is competitive throughout the county.
It's mid-range.
I would suggest
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're middle.
Competitive.
But I
We're in the
know,
middle.
Well, I don't know if you can say it like that.
But
The other
it's
thing you have
hard
to
to
look
look at, that's just, I
I
understand the
understand,
question, it's
yeah.
an important question. But when we were doing, there's so many other things, so
Yeah.
like we were packaging
Class
things
sizes are
together.
important.
and it was
Like,
give
we
and
have much
take.
smaller
So
class
our,
sizes.
we're
than
more
some of the-
desirable
Yeah.
in other ways. For example, if you look across the county, so many teacher openings everywhere. We're a more desirable place. Maybe we're middle of the range money wise,
Right.
but there's other things that bring.
And every
teachers
one of
here,
our
I
teachers
think.
deserve to be paid $95,000 a year,
And
right?
I-
Like
and I-
every one of them.
And I
But
get
then
it,
how many
and
students get to sit in that seat to validate that salary?
I get it, the purse comes from somewhere.
Right.
Right.
Very much where my tax bill, I understand that.
Yeah.
I get that. I just want to make sure that we are competitive in our pay, that we can attract and retain talent. And that we don't get, we're not the school district that people say that they can't afford the pay cut to come work for the district that they want to. That's all I want to make sure.
I don't know that they don't say that.
Well,
That strategy speaks to the track.
Well, it's all depending on the personnel, the personal interest in their situation and
Right.
all that.
Right.
You know, what's good for you is not good for me or vice versa. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's all
I
personal.
think the one thing that we could have said 9 months ago is that we couldn't attract subs because our sub rates
Right.
weren't competitive.
Right.
People wouldn't come here to sub
We
because
changed
we
it.
could, and we fixed that.
Yeah.
Good.
You know, I think that one of the perks that we do have is our small class sizes.
I just,
A great superintendent.
Right there, Randy, geez.
I'm in the room.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we all wanted to give them everything, of
Yeah.
course, but financially, when, we all know I'm not a numbers person,
Yeah.
okay? But when we looked at the numbers and we gave as much as
As we
we
could.
possibly
Right.
could,
Yeah.
given
Right. No,
what we
I
have.
appreciate that. I just want to make sure that our teachers are phenomenal. They're great people. They do
Right.
wonderful things.
Agreed.
And they take care of the most important asset that this town
Correct.
has. And that's my children. That's everybody's here's
Yeah.
children. You know, and I want to make sure that they're getting paid competitively.
So he's gonna be on the negotiation team next time.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, we probably do.
Any more discussion?
No, if I could just, I would say that the contract as proposed is fiscally responsible to the town, to the school committee. And I think it does as good a job as we could to acknowledge the work that our staff do on a daily basis, and that there are many intangibles, I think that we could, I've heard lots of allusions to it that we offer in town and in the district that make working in the Lee Public Schools an attractive prospect for many people.
And teacher to teacher, we thank you for that.
Any other discussion? All right, Brenda, can you roll call us?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Kusher?
Yes,
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes, and
And Mr.
And
Britton.
Mr. Britton.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so then,
Next.
okay, so and really, we want to give the teachers everything they deserve. Okay, same with the paraprofessionals. I mean, they're the backbone too. So they have a 3-year contract. They are now going to be compensated when teachers are unavailable or are out. So they haven't been. So now there's a scale to help that. 1 week in advance notice of professional activities for scheduled non-student days was added. They just want notice of what they're going to be doing for professional
Right.
development. Again, would like it to meet the rigors of what they do. Also added, all training will be provided during regular work hours. So they have mandated trainings.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to do it at home, and that's not equitable. We agreed totally. That was so easy. Paraprofessional salary, schedule, longevity, and educational stipends have increased. So again, they have things like if they have a degree or work towards something, they get a stipend. They have longevity, and then we have a salary schedule. They did not have a sick bank. So while the teachers had a sick bank, this group didn't. And so originally when the sick bank was offered by the school committee, it was offered to the district. And there was conversation about that. And so it was 1 unit. So now we've added it to this unit. They have the same parameters. Maybe as a goal for the school committee, we could have a district-wide
Yeah.
sick bank and you know, there's all kinds of like permutations of that. And so, but great for them, needed. We start school before Labor Day, and so they asked for Labor Day to be added as a holiday. We agreed. And then summer programming increased to $19 an hour. And we love this one. They asked for an evaluation tool. They wanted measures and metrics. I think that's great. It's proactive, and they want that to have measures. And so, and we actually put in parameters that it has to be done in the fall. So they're not getting evaluated in May when they're ready to leave and they find out, you know, maybe they wanted some improvement or they needed some professional development to support them. They're getting it early, they're getting it in a timely manner. And so they have really great ideas too. And I think that went well too.
I think that went well too. And just talking about the evaluation tool, I think it really speaks to where they were coming from, because to ask for that, right, really tells you where they want to go in their profession, and they take it seriously and want the feedback, which I thought was impressive.
I'm glad they asked to have that put back in.
So I'll make a motion to accept the Union C contract as presented.
Second,
Any discussion?
yes.
Go ahead.
What is the pay increases for the paras or for unit C? I'm noticing here on this page, it shows 2.5 for unit A. And then secretaries' pay wages increased to 2.5. But all it says for unit C is that it's just a pay increase, a salaries, professional salary schedule.
So it wasn't a flat leveling because of the bringing people up to minimum wage and making other adjustments to make the paraprofessional salary schedule more competitive with some of our neighbors. So we weren't able to just have a flat 2.5. It is not much more than that, but it is a little bit more than that in order to get them to where they needed to be. So that's why it's in your, you know, if you look at the contract and compare the two contracts,
Right.
you're going to see those differences, but it wasn't a flat leveling as in the secretaries and unit A.
Gotcha, great.
And that happens a lot when negotiating contracts. Sometimes some contracts get a different percentage increase. The reason for this one, I'm trying to look for the rates. So I believe it was like $13 or $12 was the beginning rate, and we are not mandated to do minimum wage because of we're a municipality, but they can't even live on that.
It's a
And I felt like
livable, it's a
it was
livable
only
wage.
right.
You want to be in a livable wage.
Right. And so we brought it up to step 1 is 15, and then next year is 1540, the following year, the third year is 1575. And then I think we added 7 and 8 so that we could recognize that, you know, people that have been here for years will be stuck at the bottom of that. And so the very top number is, so there is no 7 and 8 on the first year. So this year coming up, there is step 7 on the second year. that is 1991, so not gonna go any higher than that. And then on year 3, there's 7 and 8, so we phased it in, and that is $20.40, and then step 8 is $20.80. But recognizing that, full disclosure, there is a $1.50 increment per hour. It's called the salary differential for anyone doing extra work deemed by the supervisor who is, I'm sorry, Jen, the special education director assigns those duties. We have tried historically to remove that and add that to their salary schedule because we feel that inflates their salary and again,
Right.
make it what it is, right?
Right.
And then it looks like we're competitive because these numbers don't look like they're big, but really $1.50 to $15 to $16.50, like that looks better, right?
Right.
So there's these little nuances that would be nice to clean up, but once it's in a contract, it's very hard to get out.
Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna speak on the stipends
I know.
because the reason it's in there is that there's a difference between being somebody who has to do behavioral work and somebody who is just a classroom paraprofessional. And there's a lot of different responsibilities that are required of those positions, so. They should be-
And
they should be
I,
paid more.
yes, and I will, yes, I will, I will,
Like,
what do you
because
call
if
it when you're in?
Respectfully.
Yeah.
Yes, no, but what do you call it when you're
Agree
in
to
a
disagree.
poker game and I will, no, when you call.
Fold?
2-1.
I will raise you that and
Yeah.
say, some people do believe that there is, I mean, so it's hard to even argue that. I'm
Yeah,
not.
when we faded it out a couple of years ago and which they did, and then it came back in, and everybody was getting paid the same amount.
All but 3 people, right? So now it's less than that.
Not everybody stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
And so that's why it came back in.
In some districts, and again, we look at the history, we
Yeah.
look at comparisons, I mean, some districts do stipends, like flat stipends, it's not hourly.
Yeah.
Because when you do hourly, if you have
Agreed.
overtime,
Something has to be
it
done. Yeah.
exponentially like raises.
Yeah.
But
Something has-
no one is
yeah.
saying it's not warranted, like
Yeah.
everyone believes it's warranted
Right.
and viable. It's
Something has to be added. Even
Yes.
If it's not an hourly, it's gotta be something to make it.
But when you look
worthwhile.
at this, you look like, oh my God, we're not paying anyone
Agreed.
anything, but when you start adding things in, but you know, everyone is worth it,
Great.
yes.
Agreed.
So you can imagine how long these meetings go.
Yes. Yeah.
Long.
Long.
So
Long.
if you want to take my spot, just kidding, I'm gonna do it again. I like
Yeah.
it.
All right.
And then just one more thing, sorry.
Yeah.
Evaluations were added, were the paraprofessionals not given evaluations part of this contract?
So in the last contract, there was actually some stipulation that there was going to be a subcommittee put together to create a workable evaluation instrument. That never happened. Of nobody's fault. I think COVID played a huge role in that. And the transition of superintendents and everything else. And so there were evaluations done, but it wasn't an instrument that was meaningful. And so I did work with Matt Filio, who represented the paraprofessionals in negotiations, and we agreed upon a little bit of a hybrid evaluation instrument using some things from our neighbors, pulling that together and finding something that was agreeable on both sides.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and I just got to add one thing before we vote on this, so everyone's aware, and Chris, for you, because it probably is going to be. We did agree to add, if they would like their stipends separate than their paychecks. And we do support that, although we did say they can have that as long as they do a direct deposit. And we can set that up in the payroll, so it's a separate payroll. And it just goes in, so there's no checks to sign, there's nothing to happen. But there is, no one's doing anything, but it does get mixed in with your pay. It's hard to see what it is. You feel like you don't have the value. Totally buy into that, I agree. And I think we did it for another group, though, maybe the custodians, last group.
That was agreed to in both of the Unit A and Unit C. For
Oh, but we
stipends.
did it.
We
Yeah,
did it
'cause we-
one
the
time
last-
before.
The last round of pay that we did last month, there was a huge, it was bigger, and you said, oh, that accounts for all the stipends and stuff.
Well, all the stipends
that
came
was-
at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah,
That's their end.
Oh, all right.
But this is like their educational stipend. the
Oh, right,
longevity.
okay.
So they asked for it to be in a separate check instead of and instead of put into their pay. So some would,
Separate deposit, no separate check.
separate deposit, you're right. Now, some would say, oh, there's a tax implication. You're paying your taxes regardless, like, so if you add it into your pay, you do get into a separate tax bracket, so you'll get your money back when you file your taxes, blah. They just want it separate. I don't think it's a huge ask. We agree. So unless the committee has like an adverse reaction to that. You don't like it?
No, it's not. That's all we're asking for, like how.
I know, it's just like a separate disbursement.
All right, any other discussion? All right, Brenda, can you roll call us?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes,
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes. And Mr. Burton?
And Mr. Britton?
Yes.
All right, and the last one is the secretary.
So this one,
So I handled this. There's really two things. Three, I guess. One is the term of the contract, so 3-year contract. 2.5 for salary increases with one minor exception. This receptionist position had been under minimum wage. That was raised to start at minimum wage. And then they simply asked to have their sub-calling responsibilities at LES divided equally between the record secretary and the assistant to the principal. So those are very agreeable terms. They were a great group to work with. As you can tell, one line, one and done.
I'll make the motion to accept the secretarial contract as presented by Superintendent Rochelle.
Second.
Any discussion? You good? All right, Brenda, can you give us a roll call?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
yes,
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wadsworth?
yes.
And Mr. Britton?
Yes.
All right, we good? Good. All right. Next thing on our agenda is the open meeting law update. After we spent all that time last month talking about the change in the open meeting law, they changed it again. And so the original open meeting law has been extended to March of 2023. So we don't have to worry about that 50-50 split and me being at all the meetings anymore. We can go back to what we had before with the hybrid, or we can do it all Zoom. We can do whatever we want until March of 2023. And then we can go back to what we originally had planned, where I'll just make sure I'm at all the meetings and we have to have at least 50% to have our quorum. And he'll probably extend it again before that happens. But anyways, I just wanted to fill you all in so you weren't like frantically all trying to get here. We don't have to worry about that anymore. I mean, I'd love you all to sit here with me because Mike and I get lonely, but if you would all, but if you can't make it, I completely understand. So next thing, new business, we had a robotics donation.
Yes, Berkshire Engineering Inc., the owners of that engineering firm, their grandson participates and they'd like to make a $2,000 donation to the robotics club, which is very generous. And would go a long way, between laptops, robots themselves. We had a very successful robotics club this year. They did well. And I'd also ask that we put a line item in the budget specific for robotics, because right now, every time they fundraise or every time they have money, it goes to the general student fund.
Robotic revolving account.
Right. Because right now, we're just putting it in our general student fund.
Going into the LES
You want to create a revolving account for that.
for robotics.
We need two motions.
Right.
We need two motions. First, we need a motion.
I make a motion, we accept the $2,000 from Berkshire Engineering as a donation to Lee Public Schools.
a second,
Any discussion? Miranda, can you roll call us, please?
Mr. Robin?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Fisher?
yes,
Ms. Larmen?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it just occurred to me.
What?
Later
We
on.
need the revolving account first before we can.
No, but I don't think we do roll calls if we're all together.
No,
Unless,
we do because
do,
we're
because we're
Zoom.
still Zoom.
Anytime you're remote, you have to do a roll call.
well, who's remote?
It doesn't.
Nobody, I
because
think when the
Oh,
meeting
we're
is.
remote.
people.
Because
I
the
think
people are
so.
remote.
Even there.
But our policy, we went back and looked, our policy says we have to do a roll call.
For every vote.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so, I make a motion that we create a revolving account for robotics.
Second.
Any discussion? Warren, can you roll call us again?
Robin,
Yes.
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes. Normally, I cite the MGL, but I can't remember it. It's under student counts. That's what that was. For. Can't just have the vote.
We're good. We got it. Okay, and the last thing on our agenda is future business is our next school committee meeting. Now, our next school committee meeting is.
2 weeks.
Yes, so I would like to propose, can everybody get their phones out with their calendars or their computers? I would like to propose that we push it forward. You know,
You can come anytime.
You can come anytime you want.
But you know,
You can stay home with your own. I would like to propose that we push it out to the 16th, if that works for everybody. And here's why, because we just met. And that would be closer to the beginning of the school year, so if there's anything else we need to deal with about school opening, then we're here and we can do so. And that gives the policy committee time to meet, get our animal policies up, ready and to go and be approved hopefully at that meeting as well. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, perfectly.
And the expectation is that agenda probably would be pretty mild. We do have student handbooks that would need to be approved. So that would give us time to get them approved and set before the first day of school.
Does that work for everybody?
Bingo.
Absolutely, perfect. Okay.
and then Andrew, I just have one thing.
Yeah.
I just want to note that Christine Crawford, who is a former employee, passed, and I just want to say condolences to her
Yes, I'm so
family.
sorry to hear that.
She was the administrative assistant to the superintendent for a short period of
Oh,
time.
I'm so sorry.
So just,
Thank you.
want to note that to the family out there.
Okay, so last thing on our agenda.
I'll make a motion
Wait a
to-
minute, stop. We don't need to sign these on camera, right? Okay. Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
second. Do we have any seconds?
Second.
Discussion? Brenda, call us out.
Robin,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Larmen,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned at 8:12. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, Kathy.
Is there a limit?